Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project. And a couple months ago, someone emailed me and said, "Hey, Doug, I've been watching your videos for a while. I'm a high school student and I've learned so much. I've been testing out the keyword golden ratio and it's been working well." I told him to keep in touch with me. Let me know how the site grows. It sounds awesome that he's taking action and that sort of thing. So this person's name is Linus, and Linus has been working on his site. As a high school senior, he's been able to make, on average, about $50 or so per month. There have been some ups and downs with the retail season and some seasonality with his niche in general, but it's super impressive because when he started on his site, I think he was 17. Again, high school student, he doesn't have much money, right? There's no budget. He doesn't have like spare cash or anything like that. But he has a lot of time and he's just been working on his site, apparently watching a whole lot of my videos, which is cool. Thanks for the support, Linus, and making it work, like generally doing cool stuff. So Linus is graduating from high school pretty soon. Actually, I think it may be this month when I'm publishing it. He'll be going to a university in the fall studying computer science. But I think it's super impressive, and I guess it shows a couple things. One, you don't have to have a big budget. Also, if you just stick to the core pieces of activity, right? If you just stick to the core things that you need to work on and ignore most other things, it will work. All right. So there's a lot of things that can maybe help you 1% or 2% or even 5%, but you need to be focusing on things that can help you like 50 or 80% now. I know it's hard to understand which things to work on, but that is sort of like the core of what Linus and I talk about. So thanks again to Linus for joining me. And I will warn you, in this particular interview, we had tech issues, all right? We had some massive tech issues. So I'm not in there at all. You just hear my voice. His video isn't super awesome, but we got it done. The audio seems to be okay. So, I mean, I guess take that for what it's worth. I just want to make sure you understand the video quality isn't as good as we have seen from some other interviews. No fault of Linus's at all. But anyway, let's get to the interview. And thanks again to Linus. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, hit the bell for notifications, all that business. And let's talk to Linus. Linus, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing really well, and it's pretty cool to have you on for a success story interview, because I remember you would show up in live streams every week, week after week for months as I was going through trying to grow the channel and just like trying to build a community. So I appreciate all your support.
Yeah, no problem.
So probably nobody knows you unless they happen to have seen you in the chat for those live streams. So can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Linus. I'm a high school student, currently reside in Minnesota, Minneapolis. And yeah, that's and I've been working on this site for about 9 months or so.
Cool.
Mm.
Cool. And yeah, so this is one of the things that is super cool is like you're in high school, you watch the videos. And I remember you emailed me a couple of times and I'm like, whatever. Because I get a lot of emails.
Yeah,
But then you started taking more and more action and you were like, hey, I'm making money, I'm getting traffic. And I thought it was a super cool story. So because I'm scared of any kind of legal issues, I waited until you turned 18, right? So you're graduating this year, right?
that's right.
How much
Yeah.
time's left in school?
17 days, so counting down.
17 days. Man, that's great. So what's the plan when you graduate here?
I want to go to Washington State, study computer science.
Right on.
That's what. Mhm.
Cool. Cool. And is Washington State like pretty good program for CS there?
Yeah, they have some of the best in the state, so that's why I was interested in there
Awesome.
in the
Very
country.
cool. Very cool. So a lot of times I just try and get straight to the point of like, all right, what are the results? So you started your site about 9 months ago,
That's right.
and what are we looking at in terms of revenue and traffic?
So traffic, I'm doing about 2,000 visit users a month, and revenue, it's average, I'd say, is about $50 a month.
Okay, pretty cool. Pretty cool. And can you sort of talk about like starting the site and just, I guess, going through those early, probably 6 months, maybe longer, where it looks like maybe it's not working?
Mm.
So take us through the timeline a little bit.
So the first 6 months, I knew since from watching your videos and other uh, niche side things that there's a Google Sandbox. So I kind of just tried to keep persisting through it, just keep going, focus on those little wins. So like the first commission, the third, the fourth, and so on and so forth. So just those little wins can help me keep going and raising traffic.
Cool. And like, when did you get like your first sale?
Um, no, November 23rd, to be precisely.
Okay. So you remember that day pretty well. So what
Yeah.
was it like? How did it feel when you were like, "Oh, somebody got on the site and someone actually bought something?"
It felt really good. It felt like delayed gratification because you're working on it for like I think I was about 3 or 4 months in at that point, and to see something happen, some life. It felt pretty good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And like, so do you, like your parents, are you like, "Hey, I'm working on this thing." Are you telling them all about like the marketing stuff that you're working on here?
Yeah, yeah. I tell them, and they say it's pretty cool, and it's a hobby. So
Sure.
they just say go for it.
Nice. And were
Mm.
they like, "Oh, wow, like it's actually, it's paying off a little bit?"
Yeah, when they saw the first check, they were like, "Wow, okay, something. It's not just a waste of time."
It's for real. Yeah,
Yeah.
and, like, actually now I'm remembering, some of those early emails, you were like, "Hey, what's the situation with taxes and stuff," right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
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 I remember that.
and I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure your parents are gonna be able to, um, put it under their umbrella," but,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not a tax professional. In fact, I just went through, like, a pretty, laborious process, I'll put it that way, like, transferring some business stuff around, so it gets
Mhm.
complicated fast. Always
Yeah,
consult a professional.
that's right.
Um, so anyway, you got the site rolling, you spent a few months, and then finally you're making some money. And one thing I want to point out, you may not appreciate it as much, but I know a lot of people in the audience will understand this. So you were telling your parents about it, and they're like, "Oh, sure, Linus, whatever. This sounds really cool. I'm glad you're spending your time on something that seems productive. Maybe you're learning something." For people with spouses like myself, I know when I was telling my wife about it, and many other viewers telling their spouse or partner or whoever, they're talking about all this internet marketing stuff, and they think we're crazy. They think we're wasting our time. We're actually throwing a lot of money at it because we have often more money than time. You have a lot more time than money, I suspect. So our spouses are like, "What are you doing? Waste all your time." So it's a key small win when you make the first dollar. That's the point I'm trying to make. So whether you're a high school student or you got a spouse or whatever, like showing that the model works is super important. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about some of the just like nitty gritty details. So when you started the site, did you have? Actually, I'll just ask, how many keywords did you have? Can you talk about your approach to content?
So when I started this site actually, I started it over. Well, I had a site in the beginning where I didn't know anything. So then, as I learned more, then I started figuring out what like keywords are, what content I should produce. So I didn't have like a number of keywords that I was planning to go after or anything. I kind of just tried to build up the frame and then just proceed as it goes on.
Got it. So, but
Mhm.
do you remember about how many keywords you had like in the beginning, or like your first
I'd say
site?
about like a good 20 keywords that I knew about.
Cool.
Mhm.
And were those keyword golden ratio type terms?
Yeah, majority of my content is keyword golden ratio.
Okay, good to hear.
Mhm.
And it sounds like so. Another key point to make. I know a lot of the viewers, a lot of the listeners, and stuff on the podcast or YouTube, wherever they're consuming this. Um, they have full-time jobs or trying to escape their corporate job, or at least have a profitable hobby on the side where maybe they could do it full time. and it's I totally lost my train of thought. I like started the sentence and then just it's been it's been a long day. So for the people, and actually we'll leave this in. We'll leave this in here. So Linus and I were trying to get on a call for about half an hour before we like nailed it. So it's possible that people are actually watching this live because we're doing this on YouTube live,
Mhm.
versus the two other methods that I thought I would try. We couldn't get them to work. So anyway, it's been a little bit long to get to where we are. So I started talking. What were we saying here? Do you know the
We
point I was trying to make?
we started talking about keywords, and then that's it. That's all I
Got
remember.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you. You saved me here. I'm getting old. I actually just turned 40, which
Oh,
is
congratulations.
insane. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. So my memory is going apparently along with my hair. The point I was trying to make is you said you started a site before. So I think there are some people who are like, Linus is a whiz kid. He just got lucky right away. So you started a few websites in the past, right? So what happened with those?
They failed, in short. So I started my first site in January of 2018. So yeah, about a year ago. And the one that I'm currently working on, that's the most profitable. That's about the one that I started 9 months ago. So the first one, I didn't really know anything. I didn't know anything about keywords. I didn't know anything about ranking on Google. I didn't even know how to set up the analytics. So it was just a grind process, just trying to learn and acquire as much information as possible.
Got it. So were you able, like now that you've connected some dots and you've proven the you can get traffic, have you been able to go back to the first site and like fix some stuff up?
No, I just let it die.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
actually smarter to do to just like
Mhm,
move on. You're like, okay, that was a learning experience and now we're going to do the new thing.
mhm,
So that's actually good. I will say, I have bumped into people where they maybe spent a couple years on a site. They weren't able to get it to work out in any capacity, and then they took my course or took another course, whatever they did, and they were able to take the lessons they learned, go back to the original site, and then fix things up. Again, like you were
mhm,
saying, if you weren't even looking at keywords at first, then maybe you were just taking a stab in the dark, and
mhm.
then of course it's pretty tough to make that work. So
Yeah.
cool. So for your niche, but don't reveal it by the way, but for your niche and your site, how did you go about picking that?
Um, I kind of picked of what I kind of had a passion in. So something that I was mildly interested in. So yeah, but now I have another site where I kind of look at what's more profitable instead of passion.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So are you doing most of the writing then, since you have like some knowledge about the content?
yeah, I've done all the writing, and I mostly use your research paper method to how to outline the content in the perfect Amazon review. That's
Okay.
what I normally use.
Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. Um, and it's good to hear that it actually works from people live out there using it. So, how much content do you have on your site right now?
56 posts.
Okay,
Mhm.
and you wrote all of them.
Yep.
Okay, again, you have more time than money, so you
Yeah.
can write this stuff. Great. How long is the content on average? Would you say?
I try to make it about 1,600 words. That's
Okay.
the average. Some post longer, some shorter, but average.
Okay, cool. That's perfect. So, and just I get this question basically every single day. So, or if there's a success story, it's like how many posts. So, Linus has 56 posts. You're making about how much per month?
About 50 on average. Some months more, some less.
Okay, 50 on average. And for how many months have you been making about 50?
Since November.
Okay, so
So
50 bucks a month consistently since November. You have 56 posts and it's about 1,600 words each. And how do you determine if you want to put more content on a post versus a little bit shorter, for example?
I'll go through the Google Analytics. So if I notice a post is doing well or getting a large number of organic traffics, I'll go back, revise that, fix up the the structure, the content, and just add more.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. And then are you using actually we'll get into some of the the infrastructure type stuff. So, like for your theme, what are you using, or any? Do you have any go to plugins where you're like, hey, I love this one. It's really making a difference for me.
Just standard WordPress theme, just a
Okay.
standard, and Yoast is a that's the
Okay.
only plugin that I'd say is mandatory.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
And when you say standard WordPress theme, you're using like WordPress
19 or
2018.
2018, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and I could tell that you obviously, and you told me before, you've watched like most all of the videos that I've done. So you're
Yeah.
literally like, you're hitting the highlight reel of the points that I make. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, no problem.
At least I've changed one life out there. So, um, okay. So that's on the content side. Do you have any other like content tips for people? For example, let's say someone they haven't written any content online. Like, can you give them advice on how to approach it?
How to approach it? I'd say look at templates. Templates are pretty good on like stuff that you hit, and I don't know, persistency. I'd say is the best. Like the more you practice it, just the better you're obviously going to get over time.
Okay. Cool. And I think, I was right there too. When I was writing the first post, I remember my wife, I was like, trying to get some help from my wife. She's a better writer. She's smarter than me. The whole package, I would say. I need to get her to listen to this. But the point is, she was also struggling a little bit to write, and she's a much stronger writer than I am. But after time, after you do a handful of them and you're actually trying to get better, it will get easier. And you can always go back. Like you mentioned, you can always go back. It's a revision, it's a living document out there. So I mean, just like you said, like write it, get it out there, and then you can check the analytics later and then, add to it or whatever you need to. Now, one point I want to make, and again, I could tell that you've watched the videos, but like, why are you going back to the posts that are getting traffic versus like going back to fix the ones that are not getting traffic?
The reason I would go back for the ones that are getting traffic is because they may rank for other like secondary keywords. So if it's ranking, let's say page one for the primary keyword that I'm trying to reach, I also know it's probably ranking for other secondary keywords. So by adding more content, you can reach even more secondary keywords. If that
Got
makes
it.
sense. Mhm.
Yep. And the other thing is you already know that Google is, looking favorably on that specific post. So very good. All right. So link building is the other, there's two main areas. You got your content. So we spent some time on that. So for the link building, what work have you done in that area?
Blog commenting. I've done a lot of blog commenting, and I've done I think 5 guest posts. Yeah, 5 guest posts. Um, I did my first guest post in around that January time, and this month in May, I've really tried to improve the w- domain authority by a lot of link building and things like that sort.
Gotcha. So
Mhm.
for the blog commenting, what's your approach to that? How do you find blogs to comment on?
I look up the specific keyword and then comment love.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
And then I guess, has that been pretty effective for you? Are you able to find, blogs out there to comment on?
Yeah, it's been effective because they're more likely to accept the guest post because they feel like you have a relationship with them instead of just like asking, "Hey, can I write on your blog?"
Right.
So, yeah. Mhm.
Gotcha. And then I guess how many times are you commenting on a blog before pitching a guest post?
3. I'd say
3.
3 times. Mhm.
Okay. So you go back, you hit a couple posts, you make sure that they understand who you are, and then you send them over an email.
Yep.
Cool. And what's your success rate? If you like, so you got 5, about how many people did you pitch?
Oh, a lot. Over 100. So
Okay.
it's pretty low.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So about 5% at
Yeah,
best. Okay. And that's key for everyone to understand. I mean, this is basically a sales process. And if you want to get some yeses, you're going to get like 9 times as many no's.
that's
That's
right.
just the name of the game. Do you have any like specific template that you're sending for the guest post pitch, or do you kind of take it one at a time? Um,
Yeah, I have a few templates here that I use. So the first will be depending on the article that they're writing on, I'll say something within that product, and then I'll save it within a Google sheet, and then I'll go back to when they update again, and then I'll comment one more time, and then do that, and then repeat that process, and then finally send them the email.
Got it.
Mhm.
And then are you using any like email automation tools or are you just sending them all manually?
Just manually.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. And that's, I mean, really, again, generally what I recommend is like you want to understand the process before you try and automate it. Cause I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to just automate it right away. I know I could send, 400 emails, but I mean, let's be real. If you can't actually send 400 emails using an app, and you're not testing along the way, understanding like the nuances of emailing that many times and what the blogger actually cares about, then you may end up in a situation where you burn your email, like you burn your list of emails.
Mhm.
So, all right. Let's see. As far as your like the actual affiliate links within the content,
Mhm.
are you using like native ads or images or tables? What do you do in the content there?
I just use the standard Amazon Stripe
Okay.
for the images from Amazon, and then I don't do any native ads or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, just a standard Amazon Stripe.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. Now, any other details on the site that you think like would be interesting for folks to hear about?
Um,
It's okay if not.
no, I don't know. I don't think
Okay.
so.
Um, are there any big mistakes that you, or not big, but are there any mistakes that you've made along the way that you could share? Other people can learn from your mistakes.
For sure. Content spinning. I would not suggest that. Because after your site ages a bit more and you start getting more domain age, the articles that you wrote 4 or 5 months ago, that's when they should start picking up. But when the content is spun, they never reach any traffic. So you have to go back and rewrite them, and it's just a waste of time. It's like, don't do that. That's what I suggest.
Yeah, and it seems like for people that aren't familiar, these content spinners were popular at one time, and in fact, I mean, big names now that would, I mean, they're probably embarrassed that they were doing this, but like Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income, kind of the way I got started in this whole internet marketing thing. I mean, he literally had like tutorials on like article spinners, and these article spinners go out and I think I'm gonna bastardize like what they do sort of, but essentially they'll go out and you put in like a topic, let's say how to record Google Hangouts, which is something I just Googled a minute minute ago. How to record Google Hangouts, and then they will go and pull the text in from many different sources out there, and then they will basically use like a thesaurus type functionality and substitute in words, and then they'll jumble the different sources that they use. So basically, you end up with some unreadable garbage with all words that are actual, real, and relevant to the topic. But if a person read it, it's just like, what is
Mhm.
this? Like,
It doesn't
it's
make any sense.
yeah, I mean, maybe with like machine learning and AI and all that kind of stuff, maybe it could potentially become readable. But at the end of the day, like it's never gonna work, right? It's not. There's no shortcut for that. So you gave some article spinning a try, figured out it didn't work, and then okay, any other mistakes?
Other mistakes here. Um, Too short of articles, I would say. In the beginning, I would only write articles that are about 800 words. I noticed that wasn't really ranking well or doing well, so I really tried to beef them up.
Okay,
I'd say at least 1,000 words should be standard.
cool.
Some
That totally makes sense, and at one point, I was doing about 800 words for actually, when I was testing the keyword golden ratio concept, I did 800 words, and then over time, I've, raised it to 1,000. Now maybe it's like 13, 1,500 is kind of where you would like to probably aim most of the time for content. So, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any other interesting things around your site or just the journey that you've gone on here. Can you think of any other questions maybe I should have asked you here?
um, questions. I would say be careful who you follow or who you learn information from, because there's a lot of like toxic material on YouTube where people say random figures like how to make $1,000 in a day or something like that, but it's not that simple. It's
Right.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Yep. And I mean, I was exposed to exposed to a lot of that in the beginning as well, and it's just like there's so many people out there, and then quickly it's like everyone's trying to sell something, and maybe gain a following on YouTube is a good example because it's not easy, but it's fairly straightforward to write a sexy headline, have like a quick moving piece of video content, which is, I mean, again, not easy to do, but simple in the way they're executing it. And they maybe can blow up and get a big channel. And once they have a following, well, then they could, peddle whatever they want, pander however they want to. Um, and it's interesting to navigate because I'm just talking about myself now, like how that works out sometimes. Basically, it's like I'm looking at the content I'm putting out. I'm like, how can I be helpful, knowing that it's not going to be as you know, there's no viral potential for a helpful video that I'm making on the topics that I'm making, at the slow pace that I talk and the way the videos move. But the people that stick in for it, like it works out okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So moving on, I think I hopefully relayed this to you beforehand, Linus, but are there any things that you need help on? Do you have questions for me where you generalize the topic so other people can benefit, and then we can see how we can help folks out here and yourself.
Yeah.
So
So I'd say my site is about at 70 visitors a day. How is the way that I can really push that number up would be my question.
okay. So, like a therapist, I'm going to cheat a little bit here and ask you. You know your site better than I do, at least right now, and I'll give you a straight answer in a bit here. But where do you feel it's lacking? Where do you think you haven't put in the right amount of effort and you need to do more?
Authority, probably.
Okay.
Like building an outreach, I would
Okay.
say.
And it sounds like you're already starting to pick up on like those areas. I would tend to agree, without knowing your site or any of the details or anything like that. Um, yeah, going out and trying to, you know, get the word out, do the promotion on your site, whether it's like direct link building, guest posting is great. Of course, I think it's a long it's a long process in many ways. I was talking to a person earlier from the Hoth. Are you familiar with the Hoth, the
That
company?
was
So I was talking with Clayton over there, and y- they blew up their traffic. So this is a few years back, and he basically said, I started publishing content on topics that I knew people were interested in because they obviously had a lot of interaction with their customers and the community. He was just like, yeah, I started writing blog content on the topics, and we started doing link building. And over time, the consistency paid off. In fact, he was like, I published not super consistent for a little while, but they continued to get links. And over time, the consistency came once they saw some results, I believe, and it paid off. Now, you said you got about five. And I think if you continue with that, I think you said you got one in January and then you picked it back up. And I would assume that if you keep with it, and let's just arbitrarily pick 4 to 5 guest posts per month, by the end of the year, you're going to end up with quite a few links. Right now, we're recording in May. So you got a few months, you're going to have a handful of links, way more than you have right now. Now, the other delayed gratification thing is it'll take some time for those links to kick in. You never know. Some of them are probably going to be worthless because no traffic's going through them. There's other factors out there, and then one or two of them may be fantastic, really help your rankings, but you don't know which one it's going to be. So you just kind of have to go through the process, show up, get those links. It's boring after you do it a while, like most things, but it will pay off. So like, I mean, if people want to, the takeaway here is generally, folks know like where they haven't put as much effort in. Link building is a huge one because, well, unfortunately, part of the messaging and marketing around the keyword gold ratio is like, you don't need links. It's true, you really don't have to have links, but if you do have them, well, that's a big differentiator, especially when everyone else is trying not to build links. So that's what I would say. Now, as far as like the traffic to your site, um, what's the breakdown? Do you have one or two posts that are like really crushing it?
Um, in the beginning, I did, but now it's starting to like even out a bit. So I would say about 10 posts are really bringing in the most amount of traffic. So it's
Okay.
pretty. Mhm.
Okay, so that's straight up 80/20. So you got about 10 posts out of the 56. So for those, is there like a common theme around them? Is it like similar products or something like that?
Yeah, it's basically one type of product that's normally popular within that site.
Okay.
Mhm.
So in a similar way, and this is the way I approached YouTube after some time is, well, you see what your site's doing well, and like how can you basically exploit that as much as possible, putting as much content as possible around those topics. So whether it's finding more keywords related to those or going back and just, maybe you have 2,000 words on each one of those posts, look at them, see if you can figure out how to double it, triple the amount of content on those posts. So, like, even more long tails. Now, any questions before I give you the 2.0 version of how to do that?
Yeah. When do you think would be a proper time to start email capturing?
Um, a pretty long time. I would wait until you're getting like 500 to 1,000 visitors a day.
Okay. And would you suggest like link builders like the Hoth or Authority Hacker and things of that sort?
So I'm an affiliate for the Hoth, by the way. So I will recommend them. And here's the caveat. So I used the Hoth back in the day for like Web 2.0s, more gray hat type links, which I don't advocate now. However, the good thing with the Hoth is they do have different, options for you that are white hat. So they have a guest posting product. They have a syndication product, which is a brand new thing. I haven't played with that yet, but the point I'm trying to make is I'm actually currently testing out like the Hoth guest posting again because I kind of I kind of wanted to get out of the guest posting service, so I've had that kind of as something on the side, and I just don't like doing it.
Mhm.
To be to be straight with everybody, I don't enjoy doing it. The customer service isn't as fun. The positioning of what I was selling wasn't right. So essentially, what happened is expectations from customers uh, they weren't being met. So I wasn't selling the right thing. Customers were getting something a little bit different than they wanted. Sometimes the customers just suck. All right. So every now and then, someone would want maybe let me try and genericize an example. Sometimes people would want a guest post in a super specific topic and category, and then they would also, and I would say I would deliver it, but then they would also want it in their locality, like the city they were in, which is very extremely difficult to do. Possible if you're doing like some surgical type outreach, but that's not what I'm doing, nor do I want to. So the question is, would I recommend using a service? Potentially, I would encourage people to test out services. There are many out there. I think you can run into people that are not doing a good job, and the full disclosure, some people would say I didn't do a good job, with what I was doing, which is, I mean, that's debatable, right? I respect people's opinion, but the point is, you could test services. Of course, most of the time, an SEO service is fairly expensive. Guest posts are expensive, so like once you reach a point, it could be worthwhile to test it out. But at the same time, like I mentioned before, if you're getting your own guest post, it could take a few months for them to kick in. You really don't know what's happening. And kind of what you have to do is get some guest posts, maybe get, I'm just going to throw like, say, 4 to 5 per month for a little while, strategically like placed to your site, linking to your site, and then you maybe have a handle on what's happening. Things are delayed now. There was a time, like when I first got started, um, you could get some links and your rankings would move in 2 to 3 days. Now it's like 2, 3, 4 months. And then it's like minor. And the hard part is you're doing like 10 different things at the same time. So you don't know which one is which. And you could end up telling yourself a story about what worked because you have some, biases about um, just the actions that you're taking. So like you could really be misguided because of the delayed timing and the impact of what's happening. So it was a long question. Yeah, I would check out the Hoth.
Okay.
um, yeah, so I want to go back real quick, and then you could ask more questions. But with the improving the content on your site, like I mentioned, you got about 10 posts that are doing well. I would recommend going to the Google Search Console, see what keywords are ranking or bringing in any traffic, anything you're getting impressions for each one of those 10 posts. You pull down the CSV, you could analyze that information. Most of it is not really going to be helpful, but probably I'm just going to make up a percentage, say 5 to 10% of those keywords that are bringing in traffic. Maybe you're not optimized for them. Maybe you're not even mentioning the keyword phrase that's bringing in traffic. And if you find those, some of the posts won't have any of them, but some of them will. And you could add a section. Maybe you do a subheading, like an H3 tag subheading, answer the question, help that specific query and satisfy that visitor. And that is a huge way. I was just talking to a couple folks I know, and they were going back re-optimizing. It's data that only you have, right? Some people can extract data from SEMrush, Ahrefs, different tools like that, as far as like what you are ranking for. However, no one has your search console data. That's really powerful information that you can go and optimize, and then you could just add the content because you're the only one that has that data. So have you heard of that sort of
Yeah,
process?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Have you tried it, by the way?
No, I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Yeah, and the right, I mean, when you're thinking, "Oh, I gotta do it for all 56 posts," that's a pretty big task. It's pretty easy to procrastinate on that and do something else. But, um, I would potentially take a look at those 10 posts. Um, you potentially can get the impact from making those changes faster than getting more links. So, like the on page optimization stuff, pretty quick. A lot of times you can get some changes in the rankings and the traffic within 2 to 6 weeks, something like that. And I've actually gone through this process. Another company I'm an affiliate for is Content Refined, and I'm doing a test right now. Actually, we're almost done with it, but they went and re-optimized about 10 posts for me, and sadly, I think there's 2 or 3 where traffic went down by 3% or 5%, something relatively minor, nothing tanked. Could be seasonal, by the way. It could be another factor out there. However, I think I'm just going to estimate, I think about 60% of the posts that they worked on, so about 6 of them, traffic went up by like 80 to 300%, right? So
Wow.
I need to review the data before I publish anything, but basically they went and optimized some stuff, and like traffic doubled for some of the posts. So pretty fast results versus
Yeah.
link building.
Hmm.
Cool. So any other questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. You sure? Nothing else? You got me here right now.
I can't think of any right this moment.
All right. Cool. Well, I guess, do you have any tips for people who are getting started, maybe they haven't started their site yet, and you're a few months ahead of them?
Just keep going. It's just keep going, and it's. I mean, it's difficult to like learn everything, but just take it step by step. And I mean, it's not that hard to like. It's not. Doesn't take a lot of upfront cost to start. I think it's only like $200. So, just why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, just to underscore, it's like you can make a few mistakes along the way. 100% you're going to make some mistakes, and like taking action is like the most important part.
Mhm.
So I know a few folks that they've done research for 2 to 3 years. They never did anything. They've just been researching, waiting to make the move. And here in about, I guess you got about a year and a half,
Mhm.
almost
Mhm.
about 18 months, and like you've been able to hit $50 a month for a little while. I mean, you have to study and do other stuff and graduate, so I mean, maybe that's more than a full-time job. I don't remember. I don't remember how much it was, but yeah, I mean, you've made it work, and you have like an asset. I mean, potentially you could sell it. I don't recommend it, by the way, right now. I,
Mhm.
I think like, keep this
Mm.
platform going,
Yeah.
keep learning, but I mean, you have an asset, and like some people would just, sell it. And a lot of time, I mean, I'm trying to think, at that price level and stuff like that, it may not be a super worthwhile, but you got an asset right there that you built from scratch for $200, and it's worth, thousands at this point. So,
Mhm.
all right, Linus. Well, again, thanks a lot for the support. Thanks
Um,
for sharing your story. Super inspiring. And thanks for taking the time today.
yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks again to Linus for joining me. If you want to hear more from Linus and get some updates in the future, please leave a comment below. If you have questions for him, I know he watches a lot of the videos, he scours these, so if you have questions for him directly, just add them in the comments below, and I am pretty sure he will see them. Thanks.